Hey, what's up, everybody? Internet friends around the globe. We are back live with another episode of UFO Twitter News Nightly. I'm your host, TeeJay Felony. Sorry about the delay there. I was trying to get the link put over on X and the in my account. That way people could find my video, but for some reason it was having problems. It took me a couple tries to get it on there. That's what was giving me a headache there. March 31st, Tuesday night going into Wednesday. Not a whole lot going on as far as ufology news that I know, but holy hell, what a difference one day can make. Because I kind of got ambushed in this Twitter space yesterday, and honestly, I was kind of bummed out about it. I don't like when people are able to kind of like trigger me and get me, off kilter. And it happened a little bit in that space yesterday. Uh, here, I'll pop over to the lab here in a second. Let me talk about what we got going on. Not gonna believe it, but we got the Wiener Deacon coming in a little later for an interview, which yeah, I'm shocked too that the Wiener Deacon, aka Chase, would be willing to be the first to come on and do an interview. But we definitely got the Wiener Deacon coming in for an interview later, probably near the end of the show, which should be entertaining. I'm doing a deep dive on the Pazuzu Algarod case. That should be pretty good. Got some good videos to go over. And yeah, we'll go over some current news, some shit on YouTube like we always do. People should be trickling in. I'm gonna pop over into the lab and I'm gonna explain what's been going on lately. Over the past 24 hours, dude, what a fucking difference a day can make on UFO Twitter. So, I joined this Twitter space. I thought I was cool with the host. It was Ursula and Marie. We had just talked in DMs. Me and Ursula did. So I thought it was a friendly space for me. I could join and at least the host would probably, because we've talked about this before, me and those two specifically. Well, I joined the space and immediately I was getting attacked by the Tupa Cruje group. It was estimate of the situation, Wiener Deacon, Tupa, Panda, they were all in there. I had people yelling at me. I didn't even know who they were. I didn't recognize their voices. They were yelling over the top. And what happened is Estimate started yelling at me. So, why do you think there's CP rings on UFO Twitter? Why do you think there's. And then when I gave him my answer, like what I've seen to think these things, they all attacked me. So, it was a setup. It's very important to understand I didn't bring any of that up. Estimate of the situation specifically asked me, why do you think this? And then when I gave my answer, they all flipped out on me. Because UFO Twitter is the only genre on the internet where there is not creepy gangs, I guess. But they all attacked me and ripped me apart. I felt kind of bad about it. I lashed out at a couple people that were in this space, called them assholes, blocked them, whatever. And then I kind of went on a little bit of a tirade. And estimate of the situation, one of the things he said in this space was that I never show evidence. So, and Marie also mentioned, if you really got a problem, why don't you just contact the police? And that led me to this. So, I did contact a cybercrimes unit. And what they do is they investigate things like CP rings, sharing illegal material, things like that. So what I did was I let Marie know that thank you for the tip. I did contact a cybercrimes agency. Um, that leads me to this morning where I wake up this morning and suddenly I got DMs full from full spank Logan. I got Logan in my DMs. I'm not gonna show any of them because I only show DMs from people like that. I know I have no plan on communicating with them anymore. And me and Logan have been talking, so I don't want to burn his DMs. But after that post, suddenly this morning he's in my DMs wanting to play nice and make truce. And it's The first time he's ever came at me like that. Like, bro, can't we talk this out? It's kind of a strange coincidence that suddenly, when there's an actual agency involved, all of a sudden these guys want to talk about it. And I had, believe it or not, I'm a busy guy. I got, work and things to do during the day and night. This brings me to tonight, where I talk about how big of a difference 24 hours can make. Suddenly, you have people all over UFO Twitter claiming that I am actually right about all this. You even have Kimball here. Look what Kimball said. Felony talk. Unblock me. Let's do a space. You can turn it into a YouTube video. You are spot on with some stuff. Yet, sorry, completely wrong about others. Let's hash it out, bro. You can even co host. This is the motherfucker that has blocked me out from just listening, dude. Just being down in the corner listening to what's going on. And suddenly now these guys want to get ahead of this situation. They want to, get ahead of it. They want to know what's going on with this investigation, which is absolutely wild. Though with you guys were attacking me in a space 24 hours ago about it. You set it up, you set the trap. You asked me, "Why do you think there is this happening on UFO Twitter?" When I answered you, you all attacked me, made me feel like dog shit. And then less than 24 hours later, it appears that something gave. What appears to have happened is people started to talk. And I'm not gonna show you who this DM is from, but this is just one of the DMs I woke up to this morning. It was people that I've had issues with in the past, basically apologizing. Yeah, I was able to confirm someone had received some of the stuff you were talking about, so yeah, you were right the whole time. Wow. Wow. And then you have these guys. This is happening currently. I also had this in my DMs. So, damage control, more damage control. I was told that they are completely nuking me in this space right here, including doxing my name again. This is Psych Ward Mike, the guy straight from the mental hospital, the Tupa and Red Panda Koala weaponize against their enemies. And here's another DM I was given. This is the epitome of hate. Are you listening? LOL, you are fucking them up so hard. And this is, basically the whole Tupa crew with a big chunk of UFO Twitter in a space, another space, crying about me. And it appears that the idea of saying I made things up about Logan isn't going to work anymore. Because I talked to Logan all morning. He clearly stated that UFO Shane was the first to spread this stuff. I think he said that he thinks I got the wrong information. But clearly I didn't make anything up. So why are these assholes still in a space destroying me? Logan, you've been in my DMs all morning trying to come to some kind of agreement, right? So why are your friends all in a space right now talking shit about me, brah? How am I supposed to build trust with you while Psych Ward Mike and them are in a space doxing me on your behalf over your fucking mysterious hard drive? It's just absolutely wild, man. How much of a difference 24 hours could make. Like, oh yeah, they're reaching out now. And the minute they saw that I had contacted an actual online agency that looks into these things, suddenly my DMs are things are leaking out. People are trying to get ahead of it. Dude, I was right about all this shit. You got, creepy Kimball trying to get me to come co-host a space with him. Are you fucking kidding me, you phony wankers? You think that's the level of my integrity? Oh, the CP goons like me now. I must rush into their space and be friends. Y'all are fucking despicable and disgusting. And I'm never gonna stop. I am never going to stop until we kind of sweep UFO Twitter clean of all you guys. Everyone involved in this hard drive. Sharing, what did Kimball call it? Weird P? Is that the term he uses to skirt responsibility? Weird P? Is that the phrase on the internet now? You guys are fucking gross. and it's just wild. I've been posting that picture of Kimball, Somber, and Ricky all in a space, posting the pictures of the naked little boy in the space called Nudes for Dudes, and nobody will comment on it. I've posted it on all of them. Like, what do you guys have to say about this? Why should I not think y'all are engaging in this type of behavior when you're in a space called Nudes for Dudes, sharing pictures of naked little boys? And you do not get a response from any of them. Silence. All you get, you know what you get? You get personal attacks in return. That's it. None of them have given an explanation for why they were in the space sharing pictures of nude little boys. Ricky vanished. He was on a sock called what, Kevin Sorbozo, with two dudes making out in the PFP. Suddenly he's gone. And dude, I wonder where Ricky go? Where Ricky go? You guys are gross, and I'm never gonna partake in what y'all got going on. You can invite me to host and co-host and be friends, and you can Panda can tell me that he's gonna retweet my videos so my numbers go up, and I'm gonna laugh at y'all and tell y'all to go fuck yourselves, and I'm gonna laugh when finally the shit from that hard drive starts to leak into your laps and affect your real life. And I'm going to laugh when the first person starts to trickle around to y'all that there actually isn't an investigation and somebody is asking questions. And you know what's going to happen? Y'all are going to go poof and you're going to be gone suddenly because you all participated. You shared what Kimball called weird pee. And that's why you're so scared of this hard drive. It connects all of you in sharing illicit material. Notice how I said illicit material. These guys kind of add the rest to it, but we've already known the I've already known that it was full illicit material. I said from day one it was illicit material. The girl, the ex-girlfriend and her friend were saying that's what was on it. So everything I've said about this whole thing was right, and these guys canceled me over it. Is that where we're at? They're still doing it in a space today, right now. Go check out it. Just absolutely gross, man. But yeah, I'm not gonna bend the knee to the UFO Twitter gatekeepers. This show is about exposing the nefarious bad actors on UFO Twitter and kind of getting it back to an environment where you're not embarrassed to be involved in it. These spaces where newbies come in and they have no clue they're sharing a space with a bunch of goofies. It's not fair. These guys are coming in, women, men, coming in to talk about the topic, and they're ending up in spaces with UFO Shane, Logan, and Kimby, in spaces called Nudes for Dudes. You don't think that's harmful to ufology? You guys talk about how much you care about disclosure in ufology. Look what these people have done to UFO Twitter. All the it was all fucking on it. It was all truth. Rogers coin, exactly. And what do? They sit in spaces all day and do damage control. And now they're trying to beg me to come in and join. It's just, dude, it's hilarious. Alright, y'all, we're gonna move on past that. And we're gonna get over to my X account. We got a few things to go over here. And then after that, we are going to start the true story of Pazuzu Algarod, and I believe Wiener Deacon Chase said he's going to be in near the end of the show. So it'd probably be one of the later segments where Wiener Deacon comes in. I think he wants to make like a special entrance or something. Um, if you guys haven't liked, shared, subscribed, all that bullshit, please go do that. I'm coming up on some thresholds on the on my subscriber list. So if you haven't done that, please go subscribe. If you want to support financially, watching back later, buymeacoffee.com/TeeJay Felony. You can support anonymously so you don't get attacked by the UFO cult. Just leave your name blank, but you got to put your email address in. Nobody sees that. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone checking in, and we're going to get going on this rundown and update on UFO Twitter bullshit. Yeah, my account's been going crazy today. During the day when I'm doing like adult shit, I sometimes I turn it off. So people, like, if you're checking on me and I'm not responding and everyone's in a space doxing me and saying horrible shit, just know that I know that they sit in those spaces and dox me and stuff. Like, I'm well used to it by now. So yeah, it doesn't freak me out. It's just business as usual. All right, let's get going. So, apparently, they found out who the air crew was that was going over and saying hi to Kid Rock every morning, and they suspended the crew, apparently, which, is fucking nuts that these guys were taking a detour in a whatever it was a Black Hawk. I'm not real familiar with aircraft, but they suspended the air crew, it says. Which I thought it was the MAGA Republicans like being like, why don't you go give Kid Rock a good wake up? He's a good neighbor. Like, but apparently it was kind of a military unit doing its own thing. Um, okay, we're gonna watch. I made this little intro to the Pazuzu case to get everyone kind of in the mood. Let's go ahead and play this.
People would come to Pazuzu's house because they knew it was free reign. There was no rules, no anything that you had to abide by. You could...
Guys, this is one of the most bizarre true crime, probably is the most bizarre true crime case I've ever came across. Basically, you had a real life demon living in suburbia and throwing house parties with all the local kids. And what started happening at these parties were people started to get unalived right in front of these local kids. And it is insane. We're going to go over the whole thing here shortly, but here's just the intro. It's from Vice TV. They did a whole like 10-part documentary on it.
Piss in his carpet, you could smash a TV.
All right, I want to go back a little bit. So why this case really grabbed me? I had a buddy growing up that was like 4 or 5 years older than me, and his house was like this. You could punch a hole in the wall, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted, and there was no repercussions. His mom was never home. We had food fights in the hallway. It was just nothing but just, debauchery. And not to this level, but pretty close. So I kind of saw some of myself in a lot of this bullshit. And when I was younger, and just the dumb decisions we would make, the bad decisions about who you hang out with. Nobody likes to be left out from the party. And when the party's going on at Pazuzu's house, sometimes people want to join.
Knew it was free reign. There was no rules, no anything that you had to abide by. You could piss in his carpet, you could smash a TV, you could hit somebody in the head with a beer bottle, you could throw a knife at his wall. It just didn't matter.
This case is...
You knock on the door and immediately you hear a shit ton of dogs barking. And then Pazuzu answers the door. You're greeted with this smell of just...
Everyone talks about the smell. Every person they interview about Pazuzu talks about the smell of death. And what they found out is there were actual bodies in the house, on the property. People were smelling dead bodies.
Ammonia and urea. It just smells like straight urine. And rotting matter,
Look at these parties, man. Look, and one thing that was so surprising to me, I'll show you some of the photos you're not going to believe. These kids partying with this guy, they were all the kids of the town, and they all knew what was going on at Pazuzu's house, and nobody did nothing for a long time.
Greets you as soon as that door is opened.
There he is, Pazuzu and one of his women. That woman actually filed her teeth down also, like Pazuzu. There he is, the demon himself.
He was crazy looking enough, with the long, ratty-ass dreadlocks and all his teeth filed down to a point.
Look at these, they found these photos around his house where they were like little lovey shots with him and these girls. Look at that monster.
which later come to find out he did high as hell on meth one day.
Alright, man, we're gonna get into this here in a few minutes, and you guys aren't gonna believe. Look at this shit! Look at this goofy video I found. This is one of these AI goofy, like, cryptic ufology videos. And look, they're claiming that this is a real video of a cyclops and a goat. Look at this shit! Oh yeah, Pazuzu was totally based. What do you think of that cyclops, Rotary? Would you want to run into that guy? Oh, poor goat. Look at the goat. I feel so bad for that goat, man. It's gonna bother me all day. Fucking ridiculous. Let's see. More fireballs in the sky. These things are weird looking. They seem to be focused at Texas, California, that area. Uh, I don't know, man. A lot of them are obviously going to be AI. This is from an astronomy account. What kind of gets me is, and you know, I'm not one of these phony intellects on UFO Twitter. I'm willing to admit when I don't know something. They don't look like meteors or typical asteroids. Like they come in all lit up big, and they just don't look like typical you know, space junk. It just looks different.
It's SpaceX, by the way.
Like, look at that thing. Have
That's
you ever
absolutely
seen
SpaceX.
one of those
I
in
thought
real
SpaceX was
life?
white. Oh, yeah.
Like, I've seen shooting stars, and I've seen when they break into the atmosphere and streak out. But I've never seen one where you just watch the whole tail like that. I don't know if you guys in the chat have ever seen something like that.
Or,
No, this is SpaceX.
wait, SpaceX or I mean, it's from you're
Either
saying it's
that or
from
this is
SpaceX.
like the best meteor I've ever fucking seen.
Right, they're even saying, like, this is the best meteor I've ever fucking seen. Like, I've never seen a meteor like that. The guy in the video even says it. It's kind of surprising, man. Just weird. There's tons of them too. Like they're being seen regularly. Large numbers of them. It is something to keep an eye on. What the fuck's actually going on with that? All right, let's get ready to go to YouTube. I wanted to save some time for the Wiener Deacon coming in later, and also I wanted to save enough time for the whole Pazuzu case because you gotta have enough time to do Pazuzu justice, or else it's not worth doing.
Welcome back. I'm Nicole Arbor, and this is part 2 of Jelly Roll going to kill me over YouTube rumors.
Tomorrow night, I think we're gonna do the Jelly Roll deep dive. If I can't come up with anything better, I got some videos, including one a little bit later to possibly end on. It's kind of funny. Alright, let's see. Pazuzu, 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 Pazuzu. I'm going to start with a non-Vice video. Vice seemed to cover this case more than anyone. Actually, I wanted to see if there was anything else I wanted to go over before we move into that. Nope, all Jelly Rolls. Oh, actually, how much time I got? Half an hour. There was a bit of a clip I wanted to show. I'm going to go ahead and show this clip from Russia. Yeah, and I'll explain it. So, the reason I found this clip really important, I watch a lot of documentaries about the conflict in Ukraine from both sides. I think it's very important that people understand that these Russian conscripts are victims too. And it's not, you know, I'm not trying to like side with the Russians in the conflict, but I wanted to show you guys what some of these men are going through. So this was a freelance journalist, a female, and dude, she went on her own and hooked up with this front unit with the Russian forces, and they're in the kill zone. Like they're as close to the kill zone as you can be. They're being rotated, and she's documenting it, which is dude, one, it takes huge balls. But she covered how they're actually living. And yeah, let's listen to this conversation they have. Yeah, that Nicole Arbor is known for other things. I've been getting shit coming in about she only dates fat people or something. I don't know anything about her, Broken Hip. You probably know more than anybody.
В отличие от новеньких мобилизованных, во взводе обеспечения почти все добровольцы.
Я не знаю, как вы, блядь, воюю за своих женщин, чтобы они жили там.
So, this conversation... Oh, dude, it's thunderstorming out. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. She's funny. She's canceled? She ain't canceled by me. I need to have my say. It's storming like a bitch out. So, I don't know who Matthew Santoro is. Like, I don't know if that's somebody that I would give her props for beating up or if it's a bad thing or not. So, this is these Russian soldiers, and basically they're talking about why they're willing to fight, why they're willing to come and fight in this conflict. And it's just important to see the conflict from both sides.
Пизди. Тебе 50 с хером лет?
I mean, she does seem like the kind of woman that would beat the shit out of somebody. Just being real.
Ты
Alright,
один, у
let's
тебя
go.
ни хера, блядь, нету.
Нормально.
Если ты здесь, ты не...
That one guy said he's fighting for women because he has money, and the other guy said you're 50 years old. You're not here for women. What the fuck are you talking about? They get in an argument. It's interesting.
за женщин.
А за кого?
Then for whom? For yourself.
Получить и просрать.
To profit in shit. That's what he said. To profit in shit. That's why you volunteer to go fight in Ukraine if you're Russian.
Блядь, на блядей, на алкашку.
Look, for sluts and alcohol.
Виталий,
These guys have a real heart-to-heart here.
вот
But
последние 8
I've been here for 8 months, bro. 8 months.
месяцев, братан, 8 месяцев. Я здесь.
Ну,
Виталий, что у
It's a shame you don't have a woman.
тебя нет женщины?
Юр, у меня была женщина, я уже объяснил. Она сказала, то, что я не вернусь, то, что меня убьют.
He said, I told you, I had a woman, but she told me I'm not coming back, so she's not waiting. She said I won't go back, that I'd be killed.
И все, и вы расстались.
Look how old these guys are. First off, these guys are all 40s and 50s, man. These are elderly conscripts, guys.
Я оставил их двушку, я оставил ребенка.
Нихуя себе. Я очень рад, что ты как ты есть. А я не такой, Виталий. И что?
Look how old, dude, I can't get over how old these dudes
Надо
are.
ты, блядь, Юра, дуралей.
Yori, you're an old fool. They start arguing about it.
Потому что твои бабы продажные.
Because your women are gold diggers, he
Ну, пишут
says.
смс-ки мне.
But they text me at least.
Ты не за Россию, не за патриотизм.
You're not here for Russia or patriotism, but for money, so you can waste it later. So a lot of them argue about I'm doing it for patriotism, for Russia. That's what you're supposed to say.
А за бабки за эти, блин.
Да, Виталий.
This conversation could get these guys in a lot of trouble with their generals.
Потом опять их проебать.
Да, именно так, Виталий.
Ну это глупо.
He said, look, he said, well, it's dumb. It's dumb.
А ты здесь зачем?
And
Yeah.
why are you here? Why are you here then?
Я уже говорил, о чем я здесь.
I told you why I'm here.
Ну-ка еще раз.
Я поехал на
I
патриотизм.
came here for patriotism. Man, it's so crazy.
Ты его видишь?
Do you see it? Have you seen patriotism on this war? Have you been treated fairly?
Сейчас уже нет.
Not anymore, unfortunately. Dude, that is huge. Not anymore, unfortunately. So, just like wars in the past, American wars, where the young men, these are elderly men, think they're going out to fight the good fight, you get there and realize, oh shit. And that seems to be what's happening with these Russian men.
К сожалению. Мне за тебя очень
I'm
обидно,
so
Виталий.
sorry for you, Vitaly.
Потому что ты здесь такой
Because
молодец.
in that, you're not alone here. You're not alone here. Basically he's saying everyone's losing their morale.
Ты здесь не один, Виталик.
Dude, I don't know why that these clips just really
Хорошо,
struck
я
me,
помогу.
but
Ну, горилка же.
Горилка, горилка.
this is the one that was a little bit better. They're all a little drunk.
Украинский.
Горилка.
Так надо вылить на стол.
Вылей на стол.
О, все, уже горит.
Горит, горит.
Все, все.
I thought it was kind of funny. These are like guys actively fighting in a war, probably the hottest war on the planet, and they're over here trying to like set little fires and shit. Like, what are y'all doing?
Это мне запах не нравится.
Давай, давай.
Я уже пьяный, бля.
Сейчас. Вот. В первую очередь я хочу выпить
This
за
guy.
пацанов, которые здесь тоже
This guy really got to me. I want to drink to the boys fighting here with us.
воюют с нами, вот, которые здесь находятся.
Look how old
которые
they
всё
all
вообще
are,
друг друга.
man.
Вот. А по поводу войны, за что мы здесь воюем?
So he starts the open conversation. As for the war, what are we fighting for?
Я вам проще скажу.
Listen to his explanation. He's the only one that gives an explanation that somewhat makes sense to me.
Здесь у каждого мотив один.
Oh, not him. It's the next
Бабки
guy.
пьют.
Бабки.
Money. He says money. It's all money. The next guy's the one who tells the story.
Бабки. Это 100%.
100% money.
Но,
Ты не прав.
но.
Почему вы отрицаете, что у каждого
Okay,
своя
this guy.
Мотивация, я не понимаю.
Look at this guy. Dude, these guys look like they have no business being in a combat zone. Like, I'm just saying, a lot of them are old. But he says everyone has their own motivation, and that's not fair. And listen to his story, and then we'll jump over to Pazuzu.
Почему вы все подгоняете под одну и эту?
Я не понимаю, вот вас, вот мужиков 50-летних, у которых бабки, бабки,
Тебе
бабки,
его.
бабки, бабки, бабки.
В смысле,
Вы
бабки?
куда их свою могилу заберете
He said, I don't get you 50-year-old men that only care about money. Where will you take it? To your grave?
или что? Вы все строите на бабках. Да неужели это самое главное?
Это главное. А это не
That's a
главное,
big
конечно.
statement,
Тебе
too.
некого кормить, у тебя ни хрена нету. Поэтому ты так говоришь. Это не
Ну
самое
хорошо, у
главное.
меня есть как-то.
Есть.
У меня можно я свою точку зрения
Ну,
скажу?
скажи свою точку
Вот.
зрения.
Here it
Я
is.
пацану сейчас.
Okay,
Прошу,
he says,
да?
this is where this is the
Следующий подходит
part I
он.
wanted to say. He says, my oldest is 16. The next is Army agent range 4 years. And they all, listen to what he says. This is really important.
Через 4 года пойдет в
Пределом
армию.
говорит.
Да подожди, дай договорить.
Let me finish,
Дай
you
договорить.
assholes.
Если я сегодня и все мои друзья не пойдут, то завтра пойдут мои дети. Поэтому я пошел
Все
сегодня.
ваши, все ваши.
Поэтому я...
He said, if me and my friends didn't come fight this war today, my kids are going to have to fight it tomorrow. It's the only explanation that I found that made any sense to me. And, you know, I mean, you got to feel for these guys. Most of them are conscripts. A lot of them do volunteer, but it's through financial pressure. A lot of financial pressure is put on them. They'll threaten to foreclose on family businesses, things like that, and push them into the military. Then once they're in and they do their enlistment, they don't let them go home. All right, let's get into Pazuzu here. This is going to be a wild ride here.
And later in the same
I'm
year,
gonna,
Cynthia and her most recent husband John
I think
will
I'm going to
He was an avowed Satanist
Put
who
some
filed his
links on
teeth
it.
into sharp points and split his tongue into two. And while his choice in lifestyle was far from normal, he would develop a following, and all would ignore his evil past.
He split his tongue also. I knew he filed his teeth down, but it said he also had the tongue split thing.
My name is Adrian, and welcome back to Coffee House Crime. Today's case is a...
This is fair use. This is Coffee House Crime. I'm covering the case of Pazuzu Algarad to educate the public. So all this is covered under fair use to educate the public about dangers in our communities.
Disturbing one. We're looking into the world of Pazuzu Algarad and his filthy lair that he liked to call home. And just to let you know, I post both solved and unsolved cases here on a weekly basis, so if that is your sort of thing, please consider subscribing to Coffee House Crime. So pull up a seat, grab a coffee and sit back.
This guy gives kind of a background and a breakdown of the whole case, and then I have a bunch of Vice clips that really go a little deeper into it.
This is the case of Pazuzu Algarad.
I've been wanting to do a video on this since I first started making videos.
San Francisco. Also known as Golden Gate City, San Francisco is known for its cool summers, varying architecture, Golden Gate Bridge, and of course, Alcatraz. Influenced by its booming tech industry, San Francisco is now the second most expensive city to live in all of the US. And while this city has always been on the pricier of places, back in the 70s it supposedly wasn't so bad. Back then, Timothy Lawson and his wife Cynthia were two of the 750...
No, it's Coffee House Crime is the channel right now. And then the other ones are going to be Vice TV.
15,000 residents that called San Francisco their home. The two married in 1971, and fast forward 7 years to 1978, they introduced their first and only child to the world, baby Pazuzu, who at the time went only by the name of John Alexander Lawson. John was born on the 12th of August 1978. He spent 2 happy years here, but then in 1980, he along with his mother and his father moved to North Carolina. He joined his local elementary school, but shortly into 2nd grade, problems started arising in John's life. John was forced to retake his 2nd grade after failing to meet expectations from his teachers. And arguments in the family home meant that at the age of 8, John's mother and father would split up. This would further cause issues with his education and his personal life. It was during this time...
Look at him, man. All bright-eyed. Gosh.
...that his father moved back to California, leaving both John and his mother to carry on with their lives.
Little Pazuzu.
At the age of 12,
look at little Pazuzu.
Cynthia remarried to a man named John Larry James. And John, along with his mother Cynthia and stepfather also called John, moved into a house on Rockville Drive in Clemens, North Carolina.
Look how clean the house is when they first moved in. It's a lovely home, bro. Anyone would want to live there.
John's life would become more troubled after this move. At the age of 13, he began to heavily drink alcohol.
Oh man, he played football. He always liked the long hair, didn't he?
Sometimes getting through a 12-pack of beer a day. Feelings of abandonment and betrayal were common in...
I'm just gonna say it. A lot of this shit, I went through similar stuff. I was on probation as a juvenile, and dude, I really, I was probably addicted to smoking pot. I smoked pot every day of my life. So when I got put on probation, you get drug tested. So my only option was drinking, and I started drinking probably, 6 to 12 beers a day. I'd start smashing them right after school.
In John's world too. It was around this time that John made some very stark changes to his life. In 9th grade, after attempting to retake it for a 2nd time, he dropped out of West Forsyth High School, located just down the road from his home. After dropping
He said he dropped out at 9th grade.
out, he didn't try to find work either.
He didn't do shit.
Instead, he spiraled into the world of drugs, buying, using, and selling them. He also started to become increasingly interested in the occult and Satanism. In 2002, he legally changed his name from John Lawson to...
I wonder how many people actually get put on probation like that and can't smoke pot anymore, so they actually go start boozing all day. Here's where he changed his name, Pazuzu Algarad.
Pazuzu illa Algarad.
He
A very
legally
sudden shift
changed
in
it too.
Pazuzu's aura was now obvious to those around him. Where he was once an energetic, fiery, ambitious, and unafraid kid, he was now dark, uneasy, and apprehensive. In parallel to these changes, Pazuzu also became agoraphobic, being uneasy and scared to be around other people. Essentially, he became a recluse to the world. And later in the same year, Cynthia and her most recent husband John would divorce. He would move out of the house, leaving both Cynthia and Pazuzu to
So that's important. His parents split up and his dad left, took off. Um, my dad left about the same age. And it was just him and his mom, who he seemed to be able to control his mom. That's one of the craziest details of this case. His mom was living in that house while all this shit happened.
fend for themselves. Pazuzu was
There
already
he
a troubled
is.
young man, but
There's where he's becoming Pazuzu. They also said during the second Gulf War, after 9/11, he got obsessed with like the Taliban and shit and started to act like he was like a jihadi. So he was always kind of like an edgelord, you could say.
things would start to go downhill pretty fast from here. On top of his multiple anxieties, Pazuzu was also diagnosed with schizophrenia and severe depression. He'd take medication for these illnesses, but as with everything else in his life, they were abused. Drugs became Pazuzu's only currency.
See, there he's wearing the turban. He's there. You see a lot of photos where he's wearing a turban, and that's when he's going through his jihadi days. He was like all against it, the U.S. and stuff.
Satanic tattoos started to appear all over his face and body. He carved the number 666 into his skin, and he braided metal into his hair. He even stopped showering and brushing his teeth, believing that filth gave him extra powers.
That's another detail that's specific to Pazuzu. I've never really seen that anywhere else. He completely swore off showering and soap and deodorant, brushing your teeth, and it was because he said his filth was like a layer of protection, and it was a belief system he kept until he died, honestly.
His
Oops.
satanic ritual
Spoiler alert.
developed to newfound heights too. On the full moon of every month, his mother would go to the local pet store to buy him a living rabbit. She would give the rabbit to Pazuzu, who would then take the rabbit down to the local Yadkin River and eat its heart.
That's where Pazuzu, and did you hear? His mom was going and getting him these freaking bunnies. And he started to believe that he was a demon spawn. And he needed to devour live animals to survive. He filed his teeth.
According to Pazuzu, this ritual would provide him a rush like no other. Nothing else in his life compared to it.
Poor bunnies.
And although Pazuzu was agoraphobic, he did have multiple friends, and multiple partners too. His main partner went by the name of Amber Birch, also known as
You say Asmongold believes in the filth thing too?
Bubbles, and she would follow him religiously. The two of them, along with multiple friends of Pazuzu, would routinely partake in bloodletting in local graveyards, and self-harm while binge drinking at home.
One thing about Pazuzu, man, he pulled a lot of tail. This guy is in more photos with girls. Pretty girls. It's crazy.
All of these bizarre interests and hobbies for Pazuzu would continue to escalate as well. He became obsessed with the famous cult leader Charles Manson, and through direct inspiration he created his own family. He began to invite friends, mostly younger women, to live in his home, and he referred to all of his girlfriends as his fiancées.
His fiancés.
Crystal Matlock would join Amber
Here
as
they
one
are.
of Pazuzu's
Here comes the chain of fiancés.
main girlfriends, and the three of them began to live a polyamorous life of drugs, rituals, and orgies with strangers. Their lifestyle descended further into indulgent.
Look at that photo. And one of the things you got to keep in mind, his shield. is this is a dance between mental health and, you know, demonic possession. I mean, it's kind of a bounce back and forth in my mind between, was he mentally unwell, or was this guy just evil and dedicated to evil?
Madness. Pazuzu's mother Cynthia, who was okay to confine herself mostly to just her bedroom and ensuite.
There is a large faction of Satanists, but the black metal scene from Norway comes to mind, where they honestly believe that their path in life is to create as much destruction and vile acts as possible. Now, animals and children are off limits, according to LaVeyan Satanism. A lot of people follow Antoine LaVey and his writings, you know, the Satanic Bible, all that corny shit. But animals are off limits. Innocent is off limits, and Pazuzu didn't give a fuck about none of that.
Bathroom gave him free roam of the entire house. He began to trash it, leaving litter and animal droppings all over the floor. Satanic markings began to appear all over the walls and
Look
doors.
at that house.
And the front door was an unwelcome sign too, with a sticker above saying,
I want to see what that says. No gang members allowed. Anyone that dresses the same, has the same badge, and called themselves authority of a land they did not create, they only seized through terrorism. Blah blah blah. This is not their land. Basically, he's saying he doesn't recognize the authority of police. He sees them as gang members. Fake laws for we see you are guilty. Yeah, it's basically a message to police. To you are not welcome here. You will not be treated friendly here.
"No police are welcome." The sign below taunted anyone who supported the law. And another sticker said, "Evil will triumph." His lifestyle of drugs, alcohol, and partying never ended. Pazuzu's house became known as a place without laws or rules, somewhere to be yourself without consequence. It was during these parties while drunk and high that Pazuzu would often bring up elaborate stories of him murdering other people, even claiming to have killed a couple prostitutes before eating parts of their bodies. Friends of Pazuzu never took his claim seriously though, always shrugging it off, believing that he was just going through a bender of alcohol and drugs in his system. But Pazuzu was always stone cold about these facts.
He was telling the truth. He wasn't making it up, man.
We're briefly
They
heading
all
over
find
to
out.
Virginia, just north from North Carolina. The year is now 2006. Josh Wetzler and his wife Stacy had both bought a small farm together to start a business in rehabilitating and training horses.
This is so
The two
sad.
were a young couple with a compassionate
This guy, man, I feel so bad for what happened to this guy.
vision to care for animals. They'd met a couple years prior, and this business was always part of their great plans. Josh was an admirer of animals and people. He was outgoing, caring, and kind. And while he did like to spend his time with the more free-spirited kind of people, Josh was wholesome and genuine. With great surprise one morning, Stacy was found to be pregnant, and with that said, the two had even more to look forward to together. But then in mid-2007, at the start of the Great Recession, companies across the US started to fail, and as a direct result, Josh and Stacy's business lost out on the loan they had desperately been hoping for. By 2008, the couple were several months behind their mortgage repayments, and so they were forced to close up. And as the business started to crumble, so did their relationship. Eventually, they decided to take a break from each other. Stacy moved on to another farm for some work, and meanwhile Josh moved into a small trailer. And without being able to find employment or make money, Josh turned to selling drugs. This was a bad move, and things continued to go south for him. Later that year, police would raid his trailer on an anonymous tip, and as a result, he was convicted on drugs charges, now making it even harder for him to find honest work. This actually spiraled Josh into a world of guilt.
Oh, it says they took his son. That's sad.
And poverty. But Josh tried to keep positive about the situation. Sure, he lost his business, his wife, and his white vest, but he still had a kid and a great friendship with Stacy. The two were even thinking about rekindling things. But suddenly, in July 2009, police found his vehicle abandoned in a parking lot. Keys in the ignition, the door not fully closed, window rolled down.
It seems to be the one victim where, yeah, it's horrifying what that guy probably went through.
Since that day, he hadn't been in any contact with Stacy or any of his friends. Police failed to share details of Josh's car to Stacy, and Stacy, thinking that Josh was trying to lay low from the police, didn't report him missing either. And so on that note, Josh Wetzler disappeared. 3 months later, back over the state line in Clemens, North Carolina, a man by the name of Tommy Welsh had planned to catch up with his brother Rusty at his place on October the 3rd. The two were close. Tommy was 31 and his brother 30. Rusty was working the day shift at his local Domino's that day, so it meant that the two would have to catch up around dinner. Perfect timing for Rusty to bring home some pizza. But when Rusty got to his apartment at around 6 p.m, Tommy failed to meet him. This was unusual. Tommy was a punctual man. Rusty texted and then called Tommy, the pizza slowly turning cold, but no dice. Tommy never answered. So as always, the unstoppable sun set late that evening, and just like clockwork, it rose again the next day. But after a worrying night, Tommy's silence still remained. In fact, it did every day after that, because just like Josh, Tommy vanished into thin air.
So now you got two people missing, all surrounding around that bullshit.
Back at Pazuzu's house, the situation since we last spoke about him had progressed to newfound lows. Through several years of drugs, partying, and refraining from cleaning or washing, the place...
Now, dude, I partied in houses that looked really bad, and they would, a lot of times, there would be, like, writing all over the walls. Like, one of my buddies, he would let people sign and write dumb shit on the walls, so it was just everywhere. But this is next level. There's almost like multiple layers in this house. But dude, I have seen houses similar to this. A lot of this shit, it honestly doesn't surprise me that much when they show the house.
This was a disgrace. It was getting so bad, in fact, that the floors were now almost impossible to see, and the home's odor was reportedly the worst.
No. I know what death smells like, and if I would have smelled death, I immediately would have got the fuck out of there.
Worst smell many visitors had ever experienced. Pazuzu was still getting high, drawing on the walls with his own blood, even routinely urinating and defecating in front of his friends on his own carpet.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and poop on the floor here.
He had also filed his teeth down with the Dremel into sharp points, and his tongue was
Dremel.
split in two down the middle, just like a snake. And while these things are all outrageous, they technically aren't criminal. He was still rambling on with his stories of killing homeless people and prostitutes too, but now he was also claiming that he had a dead body down in his basement. Apparently he had shot...
So, eventually, Pazuzu starts rambling to everybody when he gets fucked up about bodies in the basement. And the party goers are taking as a joke.
A man 6 times, and he'd concealed the body downstairs in his basement with cat litter and bleach. His friends, just as high as Pazuzu though, shrugged it off. But the next day, one of Pazuzu's friends, Tarina Billings, remembered the conversation. And after seeing several members of Pazuzu's family acting suspicious with a shovel, she decided to inform police.
Yeah.
It was on this day of August the 3rd, 2009 that Pazuzu...
Yeah, it's a smell you never forget once you encounter it. And it even... Humans are a little different, but animals, it's similar. Once it hits your nose, you know it. You see a lot of these true crime videos where cops are walking up to a scene, and you can see the moment it hits their nose, and they recognize that smell. You never forget it. A lot of these young kids probably didn't know. It was just weed and piss and dog shit, and it's all mixed together. So, you know.
Pazuzu first appeared on the police's radar. Tarina Billings met up with a detective in a local park and informed him that she had been told by a friend that Pazuzu had buried a body in the backyard. Police investigated the claim by asking Pazuzu if this was true and if they could look around. He responded with no and no. And that was it.
They investigated it by just asking him, "Hey, people are saying you got bodies in your backyard." That's a big part of this story is the negligence of the local police. How they were warned so many times and they never really did anything.
Police left with no further investigations planned. And the next month, on September the 24th, an anonymous tip came in with pretty much the exact same information.
See?
But surprisingly, police did nothing with this. Being uneasy with the situation, Tarina would eventually go back to Pazuzu's with a secret audio recorder. And while recording, she received verbal admission from Pazuzu.
I didn't know there was a girl that went in there and recorded him. Dude, what a badass.
And several of his friends that he had indeed killed someone. But when this was given to police, again, nothing progressed out of this. It was
wild.
only in February 2010, after Josh's separated wife Stacy went to police after hearing rumours about Josh's death. And at this point, police finally executed a search warrant on Pazuzu's property. Fourth time, however, still nothing. Even with cadaver dogs out in the...
You know, Broken Hip, you're probably right. Because they wouldn't be able to fester and develop to this point. If you would think. Especially in these little urban areas where there probably isn't a whole lot going on.
The backyard, no trace of human remains were ever found. But despite these multiple visits from law enforcement over the course of 2 or so years, Pazuzu and his family of fiancés made no effort to tone their wild lifestyle down. Instead, things would get a lot more turbulent. In May 2010, Pazuzu choked his own mother. She pressed charges against him, but would eventually drop them later. The first very serious incident occurred on June 7th, 2010, when a young man by the name of Joseph...
That's another situation that's really strange, is he assaulted his own mom. The local courts knew they lived together, but they didn't remove him. And that should have been the first step. She's a victim in an assault.
Joseph Chandler was found dead along the Yadkin River. He was shot in the back of the head, and police would eventually...
I wasn't laughing about that. I was laughing about you saying Cyrax style.
link his death to Nicholas Rizzi, one of Pazuzu's friends. Pazuzu allegedly had nothing to do with this, but he would try to cover Rizzi on this one. Ultimately, this case would end on a 13-month charge of involuntary manslaughter for Rizzi. For Pazuzu, he would only be charged with accessory to murder, with 5 years probation at home.
Did you hear that? They were involved with a guy getting unalived, getting shot in the back of the head. And the one guy got 13 months manslaughter, and Pazuzu just got probation.
Later on, in 2011, it would be Amber that would assault Cynthia this time. However, Amber would never be charged or convicted for her actions. And Cynthia failed to pursue prosecution for any further assaults either.
This time, the girlfriend attacked the mom,
stating that she was fearful of her son and his religious practices. But finally, in 2014, after all the crazy twists and turns to the story, luck ran out for Pazuzu. It was late one night in October at one of his house parties that Pazuzu asked one of his oldest friends, Matt Flowers, to help him murder someone at a party. Matt hesitantly declined the offer, and instead he discreetly told the target to get the hell out of there. And then Matt went to police the very next day, loading them with his concerns and details. Matt was actually a war veteran, and following his passive level of authority, police seemed to actually respect and listen to the guy.
Wow. Because he was a veteran, they actually took this one seriously. Pazuzu asked him to unalive someone at a party.
From this new tip that police decided they would conduct a second search warrant of Pazuzu's property. And unlike the first time, this one would be different.
Here we go.
On October the 5th, 2014, authorities executed their search warrant at 2749 Nob Hill Drive.
Pazuzu,
along with
I have this entire body cam video. It's them walking through the house and documenting everything.
His mother and everyone else in the house were temporarily vacated from the property. When police entered from the front door, it was as if it were a portal to another world. The stench of filth, along with the contrast in atmosphere, instantly hit them.
Contrast
Graffiti
in
and imagery.
The contrast in atmosphere. That's an interesting line.
Littered the walls and ceilings. Satanic symbols were found everywhere.
Look, I noticed this. They're just draining the sink into buckets and then dumping it out a window, probably.
The house was infested with flies, dead and alive. And animal droppings as well as human droppings were found throughout the property.
Animal and human droppings.
Over 15 cats, several dogs, multiple snakes, and other animals that Pazuzu would use to sacrifice all lived here.
Aw, poor kitties, man. That bothers me, all the animals. It seemed like he was nice to dogs.
In parts of the house, it wasn't even possible to see the floor. Feces was caked into the carpet, and where there wasn't trash, mold covered the walls and
Look
ceilings.
at that room. I've never seen a room like that. They call that the altar room. And that seemed to be where, man, look at that shit. I don't know if it was like the garbage dump of the house, but it's filling up. It's like 4 feet deep in there. Look at that.
In the basement, things were no better either. The place was a wreck.
Portal.
Furniture was broken beyond recognition. And with this space being partially exposed to the outdoors, things decayed a lot quicker down here too.
That's where a lot of the evil things happen.
An area covered in chlorine and cat litter was spotted, resembling the story that Pazuzu once shared while horrendously drunk. And outside, the weight of this story...
Did you hear that? They said there was one spot where there was a bunch of cat litter and cat poop, and it matched the story where Pazuzu had someone in the basement covered in cat litter, basically.
finally set in. Police noticed the ground to be uneven, and therefore they had areas of interest to carefully dig. When they did, their worst fears were finally confirmed. There they found the bodies of 2 men, both of them so thoroughly exposed to the elements that it would take forensic teams a long time just to understand what they were looking at.
They tore the bitch down. All the neighbors crowded around and cheered. They tore the house down.
In conclusion, reports would later identify the 2 men to be Josh Wetzler and Tommy Welsh.
There they are, the victims.
Both of them, who had disappeared over 5 years ago, were here all along.
5 years ago. Over 5 years. So there were several years of people, rumors trickling to the police and...
All those rumors of anonymous tips to police were correct. The 2 were buried separately in their own shallow graves. As time went on, details around their deaths would come to light.
This is really tragic.
The motive for why Josh was killed was never identified. Pazuzu eventually shot him in the head. He then wore Josh's bloody bandana as a trophy for days afterwards. His friends and videos confirmed this. Tommy was picked up by Amber from a gas station.
Actually, let me scroll down here. If you look, the second video down, he's wearing the bloody bandana, and his face is all covered in blood, and this young girl is taking a photo with him. Like, eek, what did he just do? And that story basically comes out. Several young people from the community watched what happened to that guy and apparently were okay with it. And yeah, they're posing for photos while Pazuzu's wearing the guy's, bloody bandana as a, you know,
3 months later.
these young people that engaged in it. That's another thing that's horrifying.
He then returned to Pazuzu's house to drink a few beers, and while sat on the couch, Amber shot him in the back of the head with a .22 caliber rifle. He was later buried in the backyard too.
So that guy was unalived immediately and buried. More comes out. I'm gonna switch to the other videos, the Vice videos I want to get through. But the other guy was alive for a time and down in the basement and was being held captive. Actually, let's see if they go over that.
Following the discovery of the bodies, both Pazuzu Algarad and Amber Birch were each charged with 1 count of murder and 1 count of accessory after the fact to murder. It was also learned that during the time of both murders, Pazuzu's mother Cynthia was actually in the property and aware of what was going on.
See?
At one point she even came out to see Pazuzu standing over Tommy's body. She failed to...
At one point, Pazuzu's mother came out of her room and saw the Pazuzu had just unalived somebody, and she was never charged of anything.
report either incident to police either. Instead, she went back to her room and got ready for work. And despite this, she would avoid all charges.
Went back to her room and got ready for work after Pazuzu just unalived a guy in the living room. Man, it's insane. Let me get to some of these Vice videos. This is fair use. It's Vice TV on YouTube. I'm showing these videos to educate the public. I'm a little weary about Vice because they're a bigger channel, so I want to make sure they don't strike my bullshit. But alright, I just got a few short clips to show. And then I'm finding out Chase, Wiener Deacon, is actually getting ready to do this interview, so we'll get ready to do that.
His aura is very intoxicating.
He's like, let's kill him right now. We'll get away with it.
It's not a normal practice to find deceased people in shallow graves in the backyard of neighborhoods. We all were stunned.
There's nothing that could prepare you for what you saw inside Pazuzu's house.
It's interaction with the police that actually engaged in the search warrant.
Yeah, it's definitely unfit for human habitat. Okay.
If filth had a smell, it was at that house. It was so filthy and nasty.
No drainage.
It's kind of surreal.
I'm not quite sure what a Placo fish is. Is it the ones where they're like spotted orange and black, or is it like a Nemo? I don't know what a Placo fish is. Nemo's a clownfish.
Oh, let's get those. We'll get those rooms back there. Is that thing dead?
No, it's alive. Going down the hallway, there's a bathroom on the right-hand side. Just up from that was Pazuzu's room.
There's his bedroom. It said just there was Pazuzu's room. And dude, it looked like there was zero way anyone could live in there.
The room that we referred to as the altar room, it was so putrid, we literally had to get the fire department out there. We wore hazmat gear and Scott air packs into that room.
Boy, this guy had a bad case of whatever he got.
They're going in the portal.
There was also...
They were going into the portal.
There. This is the famous room in the house.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are almost like carp. I know what you're talking about. People use them in like little fountains and stuff. Look how when they go into Pazuzu's mom's room, it's kind of clean.
Cynthia's room may not have been the neatest and cleanest room in Forsyth County, but compared to the rest of the house, it was immaculate.
Compared to the rest of the house, it was immaculate. There was a couple more I wanted to show. Let's see, this one.
Cynthia, she was my best friend. And my son became very best friend with Johnny.
Babysat Pazuzu.
He come Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, he stay at the house. 6 o'clock in the morning, there he is in the morning, you know. I love that little boy because to me, he was very nice. He was a good kid. The thing that he does, that he wants to be a vampire, you know, he was a vampire.
She said the thing that he does where he wants to be a vampire, you know, he's the vampire. So even when he was little, he was acting like he was like, you know, almost like LARPing as a creature of the night.
His mind, he was.
Look, there he is.
When I met Johnny, he was weird. He wore this big cape, black cape with his teeth. He was so little.
He even wore the teeth when he was little. It said he had a big black cape and he wore the teeth. That's just wild, man. That leans more towards mental health to me.
And so tiny, you know, he was very skinny. And he loved the movies, you know, like he watches Jason, Freddy Krueger, the vampire movie. He was all those people.
He was
Sometimes
all
he
those
does things that were kind of out of place. When Johnny was probably 8 years old, Johnny was very abusive, you know, of her. He hit her and stuff like that.
He said he started beating up on his mom when he was like 8 years old.
So she put her in a mental hospital.
Oh.
Me and her went to see Johnny, and my heart broke because I said, you know, that little boy, he didn't need to be there. The one that needs to be there is the woman, the mama.
Hear what she just said? So his mom put him in a mental hospital when he was 8, when he was growing up, because he kept attacking her. And the babysitter, the nanny, told the mom, he doesn't need to be here. You need to get him out. You're the one that belongs in here. That's interesting.
She drinks a lot for once, and she go with all these guys. I mean, she leave Johnny behind, and there she goes. Johnny see all that stuff, and, you know, the little kid, you know, get in his mind, you know, like, when my mama do that? Nobody knows what the little boy went through.
Wow.
When you get these bulldogs that they're mean, what the reason they're mean? Because you just hit him, the dog, so they have to be mean too. It's sad.
Me and Antoine lived together 3 times. So I was kind of just going back to start, really.
That's the guy that reported him. And to this day, he feels bad about it. He even says a couple times he almost regrets it. But he just knew it had to come to an end. Like, too many people were getting hurt. Alright, this is another one.
Pazuzu's mother would have been the first person I picked up. They're legitimate questions, like how...
I really like this guy. He did a lot of the documentary on Viceland. It's called The Devil That You Know. Go check it out. There's like 10 parts to it. It's hours of content, and it's just an insane story.
Could you allow this to go on? Were you intimidated and scared of your son to the point that, you know, or did you just love your son and were, you know, catering to him to the point where these things are allowed to happen?
Boy, Mom.
Cynthia James.
Boy, Mom.
She's somewhat of a cipher.
I graduated.
Yeah, well, I think she was afraid that she was gonna be next, but...
From high school in 1996. The house was beautiful. His mom took care of it. They had cream-colored carpet. When you walked in, you took your shoes off. I moved down here in 2010, and it was a completely different scene. The house was an absolute disaster.
You know, Pazuzu's living off his mom, treating her like shit. She was paying all the bills, buying him a case of beer every day, buying him, you know, bags of rolling tobacco every day. It's not doing anything good for anybody.
You know, as a parent, what do you do when your situation spirals out of control? When your kid drops out of school?
Look at these party photos.
When he starts abusing drugs? When he starts sacrificing animals?
Pazuzu used to sacrifice a rabbit, slitting rabbits' throats and dumping their blood and rubbing blood all over his face.
Look, these photos, he would be covered in blood, where he would do these things almost like as a performance for the party, and these kids would eat it up, man.
He felt like it would give him higher power.
There was a cat hanging in his tree.
Oh.
I saw it. I know that it was a cat hanging in his tree.
Oh.
At some point, you know, you just figured he felt he had to take his animal sacrifice to the next level.
Yeah, his mom definitely played a part. Never got charged.
To human sacrifice.
They ran her out of town. They destroyed the house.
Autopsy reports for Josh. This is the first time I've...
The victim I was talking about that really bothered me, this is the mother of his kid talking about the autopsy report.
seen this, and you know, we just never heard anything back from the DA or from the detectives.
They never contacted him. She said she never heard back from the detectives. And it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Yeah, let me see. I wanted to show Into the Girls. If I got it here. Nope. I don't see it. That's not, I got that. Oh, here it is.
Clemens is a place in Winston-Salem where everyone goes to church. Everyone identifies with the church. So he became the devil. He became a quote-unquote Satanist. Even the name Pazuzu, I mean, come on, it's the name of the demon in The Exorcist. What is the biggest, scariest thing? It's Satan. It's the devil, El Diablo, the fallen one, Lucifer, Pazuzu. I mean, these people believe in this stuff. Lawson trolled pop culture and kind of came up with this persona. It's a little mixture of Manson, throw in a little Anton LaVey, a little 1980s heavy metal.
Yeah, he mentioned Anton LaVey. That's funny.
You know, 666 type stuff, and there you go.
Look at
And then when
Pazuzu with that photo. He's got the goth and the Islam extremist going on.
9/11 came, he put on the jihadi mask. It was as if he was trying to be what people are afraid of. You know, made him powerful. And it seems like there were some young women who were particularly susceptible to his persona.
Pazuzu dated a lot of girls, and he apparently had sex with a lot more. I think the majority of his
There's the photo. This photo was really important during the investigation into that one victim. Pazuzu's covered in the victim's blood, and you have this young girl here posing with him, and you just gotta wonder, did this girl just witness that Pazuzu unalive that guy, and should she be charged too? Like, what does she know? Yeah, and there's a bunch of photos like this. He's got the bandana that's covered in blood, but look, dude, it's all over his face. They believe that was taken the night he unalived. I think Josh is the name of the victim. I don't want to get the victim wrong, but the one that had the son and the fiance.
Or came from the same place, the same reason that we were all there. That little bit of darkness that we all kind of gravitated towards.
All of his women are very young, and a lot of them are going through terrible times. Amber Birch is the best example. You know, I mean, here's a girl who's just out of high school. She hooks up with Pazuzu, and a few...
Man, she was beautiful, wasn't she? She looks harsh after she's been with him a while.
Short months later, she's helping him dispose of a body. But why? What was it about Pazuzu that these women would sacrifice their futures for him?
When I first met Pazuzu, he told me that he was the gatekeeper of hell. He had this thing called fiancés. He had several women followers, Dixie, Crystal, Amber, and he called them his fiancés. That term has always stuck with me, fiancés. He had this sense of power.
Power of fear. That's where I think Pazuzu derived most of his power from. Pazuzu would tell me all these crazy stories about, you know, hurting and maiming people. I'd look at him and just be like, okay, buddy, sure you did. You sure do.
The first time I met them, I drove Amber, or Bubbles, and Pazuzu home.
This is an interesting story. Listen to this. This girl went into the house for the first time, and listen to what happened.
When I saw their front door, that's when I knew something was highly wrong. I didn't want to be there. I wanted to leave immediately. But they asked me to stay and watch a home video of theirs. The video was of Pazuzu and Bubbles dancing around naked. Bubbles lying on a bed in one scene, doing inappropriate things to herself.
They were trying to groom her and get her to participate in some kind of acts, obviously.
I knew the video made me nauseous. It was intense.
Hey, come in and watch a movie
Pazuzu in
with
one
us.
shot had a knife and a bloody bandana on his head. Apparently, it was Josh's bandana, from what
See, there's the story what happened to Josh. They're going down in the basement. They filmed a lot of this stuff.
I was told by everyone that hung out with him. They had trapped him in a basement, and they'd starved him for days. And either before or after they shot him, they cut off his extremities, his arms and his legs and his penis. And they buried him in pieces. Crystal was proud to tell everyone she knew that she was involved.
And that was her former friend. So why she's so, bothered by it is because that was her friend that participated in that.
He had spoken to me on several occasions that he had killed homeless people and done a whole bunch of other people really badly, shot a few people, stabbed a few people. There was never any proof to my knowledge of any of these things happening.
So a lot of these guys try to skirt it and be like, bro, I just didn't believe him. When he would show up and he'd be covered in blood, I'd figured it was the, bunnies again. Like,
I just thought that he was trying to look cool. I was there hanging out and Paz told me, hey, I got a person in my basement. Okay, cool, whatever, dude. It's not my problem.
Did you hear that? And one day he tells me, hey, dude, I got a guy in my basement. And that was Josh. And it ain't my problem. Man, that's the problem with society. That attitude right there. It's not my problem. That's when you're tested. I truly believe every human gets tested in their lives, and that guy failed his test.
I was told if a person comes out of the basement, don't let them go. No one ever made a sound. No one ever knocked on a door. No one ever did anything. I was told that there was a person in the basement. I said, sure. If they come out of the basement, I'll make sure they don't leave. Clearly thinking that they're full of shit. Pazuzu looked at me, grabbed a very large knife. It was more or less a sword, but he said, I've done something. He
What do you think, Brogan Hip? Did that guy know?
didn't say what he had done. He said, you're gonna help me dig this hole or I'm gonna kill you.
Alright, last video on Pazuzu for the night. Pazuzu is no longer up with us. And yeah, let's go ahead and see what ended up happening with Pazuzu.
We often, as Americans, like to listen to the narrative of the police and the court system and the education system. And the reason we like to do that is we like to think that those systems are working for us. In North Carolina, our justice system has made it really difficult for the public to ever peel back the veil and see what really went on.
My name is Brad Stanley. I'm the Chief Deputy Sheriff here at Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. This morning,
his demise was as extreme as his life, let's just say.
the Sheriff's Office was notified that Pazuzu Algarad had died while they're at Central Prison in Raleigh. Mr. Algarad was discovered shortly after 3 a.m.
3 a.m. witching hour. That's important. He probably acted right at 3 a.m. That's a powerful time in the occult.
He was unresponsive and had a wound to one of his arms. Mr. Algarad was sent to the Adult Corrections Central Prison on a safekeeping order. That order has subsequently been sealed, so we cannot discuss any of the specifics contained within that order. Are there any questions?
Law enforcement, in my experience, is not going to tell you a lot.
Is there anything to indicate that anybody else could have done this to him besides Algarad himself?
That would have to be, we don't have that information at this point.
Was there any suspicious activity leading up to his death?
But I would have to refer those specifics to those folks.
So basically, they don't answer any questions. They just give a press conference one morning and say Pazuzu's dead.
They're not going to talk about motive. They're not going to talk about nothing.
Don't have that information. That would have to come from corrections.
There was something about all the investigation that they did throughout the whole thing that they just didn't want us to know about.
Are you saying basically that other than this, you cannot answer any questions?
We don't have that information.
The reporter just straight up asked. So you're basically saying you're not answering any questions.
Keeping order that was sealed by a Superior Court judge, so we cannot speak to that.
Who asked for it to be sealed?
I don't have that information, Scott. I'm sorry.
Why?
Well, we know.
Why? Why all this cover-up of Pazuzu's case? The only thing I can come up with is they were so negligent and dropped the ball to such a level that they just don't want it to be public. And here's how Pazuzu unalived himself.
From the autopsy and from what prison officials have said is that he used some kind of instrument to cut himself. And what they said is they don't know exactly what kind of instrument it was.
Pazuzu was held first in Forsyth County Jail. We had heard from corrections officers off the record and from other inmates that Pazuzu had been trying to bite through his arm and trying to do so rather dramatically on the full moon. He was transferred.
So every time there was a full moon, he was trying to rip the arteries out of his arms with his sharpened teeth. And they ended up having to put him in a special unit for people that are trying to unalive themselves.
Out of there because he had been biting himself there.
It said the autopsy notes damaged teeth, but unlike does not describe them as filed to points. It doesn't mention a split tongue.
They found the guy in an 8x10 cell, and they found all of his other personal effects, so it's kind of hard to understand how they possibly couldn't find the weapon. He gets sent away from the Forsyth County Detention Center because they say they can't take care of the guy because he keeps trying to kill himself and they can't stop him from doing it. So the people in Central Prison know what he's apt to do. Somehow he gets time to be alone long enough to chew into his arm, enough to bleed to death. It's very
So
important.
that guy apparently thinks that they didn't find any instrument because he chewed his arm up, and that's literally how he unalived himself.
To understand in North Carolina that the Department of Public Safety oversees the Department of Corrections. So when there's an incident such as the suicide of John Lawson, they're tasked with investigating wrongdoings in an organization that they're also
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I believe the Pazuzu was desperately trying to unalive himself. He was probably going insane, but they did seem to allow it to happen. Like, how does that happen in a self-harm unit? There's supposed to be someone walk on viewing the cell, walking by every 15-10 minutes. It should be impossible for a guy to gnaw his arm off and end up, to a point where he bleeds out. But that's apparently how Pazuzu did it, and they didn't stop him.
managing, which seems like a conflict of interest. Our lovely state government got rid of the Dorothea Dix Forensics Unit, which is where we used to send people with mental illness. We are slashing budgets from the national to the state on mental health care.
I think
what it does.
What happened is they didn't want this story told. They didn't want this going to trial. They didn't want Pazuzu getting a lawyer and, becoming a celebrity. And a lot of it is what I said. The negligence and incompetence of the police and detectives. They wanted this shit to go away.
Is it puts all the burden back on the corrections officers to deal with people with serious mental illness. And in the prison system, about 2,500 open jobs that they can't fill because the jobs don't pay crap, they're super dangerous, and nobody wants to do that stuff, even in these little towns where they're economically depressed.
Alright, y'all. We're gonna get ready to, let's see. Yeah, we'll probably end a little early, a little before 2 hours here. Yeah, I couldn't believe it, but I've invited a lot of these Tupa crew wankers, and I've invited them to come on the show and try to talk things out. And I couldn't really believe it, but Wiener Deacon here decided he was gonna come on the episode tonight, and maybe we can get to an agreement here. So figure we'll end the stream on that, and um, yeah, that'll be probably the final session here. So give me 1 second to get it going. Um, First off, Chase, are you there, bro? My system's a little janky. I just wanted to say thanks for coming on, bro. Like, I know we've had issues in the past and everything. Let's see if I can get him up here. Oh, here he is.
You realize what I'm talking about then. You know I'm not fucking with you here. I'm being very real. Like with undertones. Do you get that?
Bro, what the fuck? Like, we agreed though we were gonna be cool with each other and shit. Why are you coming on being so hostile like this? We just talked about this, man. Come on. Come on, Chase. It's not cool, bro.
That's true.
Yeah, he's being
You're right. Straight up. I'm sorry.
It's alright, bro. It's alright. Let's just try to get this through this interview, alright? So, bro, I noticed, like, lately, there's been a lot of talk about your age. Like, Chase, exactly how old are you, bro?
Older than you.
Well, I mean, being elderly isn't really a flex, right? Right? I mean,
Yo, I'm in Seattle anytime. Pop up here, bro. We can dance, motherfucker. Long arms easy, bitch. Straight up.
dude, what the fuck, man? Why are you being so hostile all the time, bro? Like, we just talked about this, and you were gonna be cool. I don't know why you're acting like this all of a sudden, dude. Is he still there?
Dude, your new PFP is dope, bro. Like the last one was scary as fuck, Rev. I was like, what the fuck?
Dude, are you fucking drunk or something? What's wrong with you? Chase?
You can't tell everyone, bro. It makes you look crazy.
Oh, bro. What the fuck, man? Uh, don't like your family and stuff, don't your family and stuff kind of worry about your drinking, like your wife and kids and stuff? Like, what about your wife? Like, she doesn't want you day drinking all the day. What's up with that, man?
Bro, I'll punch that motherfucker in the face. Time to start revealing these secrets.
Bro, why would you say that about your own wife, dude? Oh shit. This is not going well, Chase. Dude, I think we should probably just go ahead and cut this. This is not going well at all, bro. Chase?
Bro, I can't even not have sex for 40 days.
Fuck, dude. This interview kind of went to shit. I'm sorry, guys. Chase said he was gonna come on and be cool. I don't.
But I don't act it. I'm not gonna act like I'm fucking defunct.
Bro, you're acting pretty fucking defunct right now, man. Just being real. Clearly too much time in between these
I don't
races.
even know what that means.
Well, I think it means you're a pathetic elderly rage drunk who wants to be 30 years old again. I mean, that's what I would probably say it means, bro.
Either come with some fucking real shit or fucking bounce, bro.
Dude, it's my show. Why do you It's my show.
Long arms easy, bitch. Fucking look me up.
I know, Chase. I know. We heard you the first two times you said the long arms easy thing, bro. We heard you the last 50 times you said long arms easy.
Sometimes you gotta push back on some of this shit.
Yeah, but you're like 60, bro. Why are you acting like this? Why are you so freaking hostile all the time, threatening everyone? Chase, you there?
Been fasting and not having sex for fucking 6 months vibe now.
What? What was that, bro? I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that?
Where's that calm fucking essence of fucking being either, in source with the fine tune with the source or not? Like, where's it at, bro?
Uh, I think we're having problems communicating here, bro. I think we should probably just go ahead and end this, Chase. It's not going well.
I'm just saying, man. You get knocked the fuck out, bro.
Alright. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. I see you guys. What'd you say? There's a delay? I know there's a delay. It's because I had to segment it like that. I had to like plan for the speaking, you know? We're gonna end it on that shit. I had to, segment it out so it fit in. I totally knew there was a delay. The next time it'll go a little better. Dude, you guys think that was actually Chase? That's not actually Chase. I broke his voice in and then I added the dialogue. Come on, y'all. I know. I'm just fucking with you. Yeah, it was totally Sal Bits. I was just fucking with the guy. Yeah, I did that. That was me. It's a commercial I did. It was an interview I did with Chase. I did one with Wakaka the other day. No, what do you mean, man? That was me. That's my creativity. Talk about bombing. You guys ruined. I'll have to go back and watch and see how it went. It fucked up because I was trying to put enough time in between the speech lines where I could fit in my dialogue. But some of them I was just kind of estimating what I was going to say, kind of ad-libbing, and it didn't fill in the gaps. So it took me a minute in the early one. There were these little breaks in between. That's why it didn't flow really good. But no, that was a segment I planned. It was just a gag. Don't be so gullible, y'all. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. If you guys haven't subscribed, like, share, all that bullshit, go do that. Um, if you want to support financially, buymeacoffee.com/TJ Felony, where honestly just leave your name blank. That skit apparently was so believable that the chat didn't even know what was going the fuck on. And thanks for watching, y'all. I will see you all next time. Probably going live tomorrow night, around same time, maybe a little earlier, around 9 probably. And I don't know what we're gonna do the show on, cause apparently the Jelly Roll story's kind of 4D believable. Apparently the Jelly Roll story is kind of bunk, so I gotta find someone to do the show on. So I will probably be live tomorrow night. If not, I will be live Thursday night for sure. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time. I'll be over on X. A bunch of people are trying to get me to come into spaces and do this and that because I don't know what happened. Somebody apparently like said some shit that validated a lot of things I said, but I ain't going and playing with those wankers. Fuck y'all. Peace out, y'all. Have a good day.